Every year, millions of people dream about building the next revolutionary
How can you
company.
sit there while the
They
Q3
imagine
graph
launching a
looks like
technology
this? We are
startup,
way below
creating a
target, and
viral app,
frankly, I find
attracting
your lack of
investors,
effort
and becoming the
appalling.
next billion-dollar success story. But there is a strange pattern hiding in the world of wealth creation. Many of the richest entrepreneurs are not chasing the newest idea. They are not always searching for the next breakthrough technology. They are often buying businesses that most people completely ignore. A local cleaning company, a small manufacturing operation, a commercial maintenance business, a laundromat, a waste management company, a boring service company that nobody would ever post about on social media. And that is where most people make their biggest mistake. They confuse excitement with opportunity. They believe that a business must look impressive to become valuable. They think the more complicated, innovative, and futuristic something appears, the more money it can make. But wealthy investors often think differently. They are not buying attention. They are buying systems. They are not looking for businesses that impress their friends. They are looking for businesses that solve problems, generate predictable cash flow, and continue working even when the owner is not standing inside the company every single day. The difference between these two ways of thinking explains why some people spend years trying to create wealth, while others quietly build businesses worth millions. Imagine two entrepreneurs. The first person creates a revolutionary app. The idea sounds exciting. Everyone talks about it. Investors are interested. The company receives attention. But there is one problem. Nobody actually needs it. The second entrepreneur buys a small company that provides maintenance services for commercial buildings. Nobody thinks it is exciting. Nobody talks about it online. It will never become a viral story. But every month, hundreds of customers pay for the service because they cannot ignore the problem. The first business has attention. The second business has demand. And in the world of business, demand is usually more valuable than attention. This is something successful entrepreneurs understand deeply. A business is not valuable because people think it is interesting. A business is valuable because people depend on it. Think about the things people need regardless of trends. Buildings still need repairs. Companies still need cleaning. People still need transportation. Equipment still breaks. Families still need essential services. These businesses do not need to convince customers that the problem exists. The problem already exists. And that creates something extremely powerful: predictable demand. This is why wealthy buyers often prefer what many people call boring businesses. Because boring does not mean weak. Boring often means proven. A business that has operated for 20 years without needing constant reinvention can sometimes be more valuable than a startup with millions of dollars in funding, but no reliable customers. The startup world often celebrates potential. The traditional business world often rewards performance. And wealthy entrepreneurs usually care more about what a business does today than what it promises to become tomorrow. Michael E. Gerber explained this idea in his famous book, The E-Myth Revisited. His argument was simple. Many small business owners do not actually build businesses. They create jobs for themselves. They become the person who does everything. They answer every call. They solve every problem. They make every decision. But a real business is different. A real business is a system. It has processes. It has employees. It has repeatable operations. It can continue creating value without depending completely on one person. This is exactly what sophisticated buyers look for. They are not interested in buying someone's stressful daily routine. They want to buy a machine that already works. And this changes the entire way we should think about entrepreneurship. Most people ask, what is the next big idea? Wealthy entrepreneurs ask a different question. What problem will still exist 10 years from now? Because the best businesses are often not built around what is exciting today. They are built around what people cannot avoid tomorrow. A trendy business can disappear when attention moves somewhere else. A necessary business can survive because the need never disappears. This is why some investors are willing to pay millions for companies that look completely ordinary from the outside. They are not buying the appearance. They are buying the engine underneath. The mistake most people make is believing wealth comes from being first. Being the first person with a new idea, the first person with new technology, the first person to discover a trend. But history shows that many fortunes are created by something much less glamorous. Taking an existing demand, building a better system, making operations more efficient, and owning the machine that produces value repeatedly. The businesses that create the most wealth are often hiding in plain sight. They are not always found in crowded startup competitions. They are found in industries people overlook because they seem too ordinary. But there is one reason most people never consider these opportunities. It has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with knowledge. It is something much more powerful. It is the human desire to look successful before actually becoming successful. The easiest way to lose money in business is to choose a business based on how it makes you feel. That sounds strange because most people believe successful entrepreneurs are driven by passion, excitement, and big dreams. And passion can be powerful. But passion can also become a dangerous distraction, because the businesses that look the most exciting are often the businesses with the most competition, the highest expectations, and the greatest pressure to constantly prove themselves. Think about what happens when someone says, "I'm building an artificial intelligence company." People immediately become interested. They ask questions. They want to know more. They imagine a huge future. Now, imagine someone says, "I bought a company that cleans office buildings every night." Most people react differently. They think it sounds ordinary, maybe even boring. They do not imagine innovation. They do not imagine wealth. They do not imagine a $1,000,000 opportunity. And that reaction is exactly why opportunities exist. Because human beings naturally chase things that look impressive. We want businesses that make us feel successful before we actually become successful. We want the recognition, the attention, the status, the feeling that we are doing something important. But wealth is not created by how impressive something sounds at a dinner party. Wealth is created by solving valuable problems. This is one of the biggest psychological traps in entrepreneurship. People confuse status with value. They assume a prestigious industry must be a profitable industry. But these two things are not the same. A business can look incredibly exciting and still have terrible economics. A business can look completely ordinary and quietly generate exceptional returns. The market does not reward businesses because they are interesting. The market rewards businesses because they provide something people are willing to pay for. This is why experienced investors often look where ordinary people do not. They look at industries that seem invisible. They ask questions like, how often do customers need this service? Can the customer easily stop buying? Is the demand growing? Can this business operate with employees instead of depending entirely on the owner? Does the company have predictable revenue? These questions are not exciting, but they are the questions that build wealth. One of the reasons people overlook boring businesses is because they underestimate simple problems. They believe valuable businesses must solve complicated problems. But many of the strongest businesses in history solved very simple problems. People need food. People need transportation. People need places to live. People need repairs. People need maintenance. People need essential services. The complexity is not always in the problem. The complexity is in building a system that solves the problem efficiently. This is why wealthy entrepreneurs often avoid chasing trends. Trends create opportunities, but they also create crowds. When everyone sees the same opportunity, competition increases. Advertising becomes more expensive. Customers become harder to acquire. Margins become smaller. The opportunity that looked amazing from the outside becomes much harder to win. A less exciting industry can sometimes offer the opposite: less attention, less competition, more stability, a clearer path to growth. Behavioral economist Daniel Kahneman explained in his book, Thinking Fast and Slow, that humans often make decisions based on mental shortcuts rather than pure logic. We are influenced by what looks attractive, what feels safe, what receives social approval. And this affects how people choose businesses. A startup with a futuristic idea feels exciting because our brain connects it with success stories we have already seen. We remember companies that became giants. We remember founders who became famous. But we forget thousands of businesses that failed after chasing the same dream. Meanwhile, the owner of a small service company rarely appears in the news. Nobody makes documentaries about someone who owns several commercial cleaning contracts. Nobody celebrates the person who owns a profitable equipment rental business. Nobody creates viral posts about a company that quietly services thousands of customers every year. But that owner may have something many startup founders never achieve: a predictable business, a profitable business, a business that creates freedom. This does not mean every boring business is automatically a great investment. A bad business is still a bad business. The difference is that experienced entrepreneurs know where to look. They do not judge opportunities by appearance. They analyze the fundamentals. They understand that a business is not a fashion statement. It is an economic machine. And the best machines are often the ones that nobody notices. Because when everyone is looking in one direction, the smartest investors start looking somewhere else. They look at industries with less excitement but stronger foundations. They look at businesses that solve permanent problems. They look at companies where customers return again and again. And this leads to the next important question. If boring businesses are so powerful, what exactly makes them different from ordinary small companies that struggle and disappear? The answer is hidden in the business model itself, and it comes down to one thing most entrepreneurs underestimate: the power of predictable demand. The biggest mistake people make when searching for a profitable business is looking for something new. But the biggest opportunities are often not new. They are necessary. A business does not become valuable because nobody has done it before. A business becomes valuable because people cannot live without it. This is the secret behind many boring businesses that quietly create wealth. They are built around problems that never disappear. Think about a simple question. Will people still need clean clothes 10 years from now? Will companies still need their buildings cleaned? Will restaurants still need equipment maintained? Will businesses still need waste removed? Will people still need transportation, repairs, and essential services? The answer is obvious. And that obviousness is exactly what makes these businesses powerful. Many entrepreneurs spend their time searching for a problem that has never been solved. But wealthy business owners often search for something different. They search for problems that appear again and again, because repeated problems create repeated customers, and repeated customers create predictable revenue. This is where boring businesses have a hidden advantage. They are not built around excitement. They are built around necessity. Imagine two companies. The first company creates a product that becomes popular overnight. Everyone talks about it. Social media is full of attention. Sales explode. But 6 months later, customers lose interest. The trend disappears. The company must find another way to stay relevant. Now imagine a second company. It provides maintenance services for commercial buildings. Nobody talks about it online. Nobody makes videos about it. But every month, businesses pay their invoices because the service is required. The second company is not exciting, but it is predictable, and predictability is one of the most valuable things in business. This is why experienced investors often prefer businesses with recurring demand. They understand that the most important question is not, how fast can this business grow? The first question is, will customers still need this business tomorrow? Because growth without stability can be dangerous. A company can grow quickly and still fail. A company can become popular and still lose money. But a company that solves a permanent problem has something much stronger. It has a foundation. This idea appears across many industries. Take laundromats. From the outside, a laundromat looks extremely simple. There are machines, people wash clothes, customers pay. That is it. But underneath this simple model is a powerful economic structure. People do not use laundromats because they want entertainment. They use them because clean clothes are a necessity. The same logic applies to commercial cleaning companies. A business owner may not be excited about paying for cleaning services, but they still need a clean workplace. A restaurant owner may not enjoy paying for maintenance, but broken equipment can stop operations. A property manager may not care about waste management, but waste still has to be removed. The service may not be glamorous. The need is undeniable. This is why many successful entrepreneurs focus on what is called essential businesses. These are companies that provide services people continue using regardless of trends, economic cycles, or changes in consumer attention. They are often less dependent on marketing hype because the demand already exists. The challenge is not convincing people that the problem matters. The challenge is building the best system to solve it. This is where many small business owners fail. They think the business is the service itself, but the real business is the system behind the service. A cleaning company is not just about cleaning. It is about hiring reliable employees, creating procedures, managing schedules, maintaining customer relationships, controlling costs, building a machine that consistently delivers the same result. A car wash is not just about washing cars. It is about creating a predictable customer experience. A laundromat is not just about washing clothes. It is about location, equipment efficiency, pricing, maintenance, and customer behavior. The service is simple. The system is valuable. Michael E. Gerber described this difference in The E-Myth Revisited. Many small business owners fail because they work inside the business instead of building the business. They become the employee instead of creating an organization. The wealthier approach is different. The goal is not to create more work. The goal is to create an asset that can operate, an asset that can grow, an asset that can eventually work without constant personal involvement. This is why wealthy buyers are attracted to boring businesses. They see something most people miss. They do not see a boring company. They see a machine. A machine that takes customer demand and converts it into cash flow. And once you understand this, another surprising idea appears. The most valuable part of many businesses is not the product they sell. It is the relationship they build with customers. A business with thousands of returning customers has something a new startup cannot simply create overnight: trust, history, predictability. And this is exactly why rich entrepreneurs often prefer buying existing businesses instead of starting from zero. Because they are not just buying equipment or a name, they are buying years of proven demand. But there is still one question left. If buying an existing boring business is such a powerful strategy, why don't more people do it? The answer reveals the biggest difference between ordinary entrepreneurs and wealthy ones. They do not think they are buying a business. They think they are buying an asset. Most people think they want to own a business, but what they actually want is to own a job with more responsibility. They buy a small company and become the person who answers every customer call. They become the person who fixes every problem. They become the person who cannot take a vacation because everything stops when they leave. And after a few years, they discover a painful truth. They did not buy a business. They bought themselves a difficult job. This is one of the biggest differences between ordinary entrepreneurs and wealthy business owners. Ordinary entrepreneurs often ask, "How can I make this business work?" Wealthy entrepreneurs ask, "How can this business work without depending on me?" That single difference changes everything. Because the purpose of building wealth is not to create more tasks. The purpose is to create an asset. An asset is something that produces value even when you are not personally involved in every decision. This is why wealthy people are attracted to boring businesses. Not because they love boring work. but because many of these businesses can be transformed into systems, and systems are what create freedom. Imagine two business owners. The first owner runs a small repair company. Every customer wants to speak directly with him. Every employee depends on him. Every decision goes through him. If he stops working, the business stops making money. The second owner also runs a repair company, but he has documented processes. He has trained employees. He has managers. Customers trust the company, not just the owner. If he takes a month away, the business continues operating. From the outside, both companies may look identical. They may offer the same service. They may have similar revenue, but they are completely different assets. One is a personal job, the other is a business. This is why sophisticated buyers pay attention to systems. They understand that the real value of a company is not only what it sells today. The real value is whether the company can continue producing results tomorrow. This idea is one of the reasons many experienced entrepreneurs prefer buying existing businesses instead of creating startups from zero. Starting a business from scratch means beginning with uncertainty. You have to discover, will customers buy? Will the market accept the product? Will the pricing work? Will the business model survive? You spend years trying to prove that the idea works, but when someone buys an established business, they are buying evidence. They can see existing customers, existing revenue, existing employees, existing processes, existing market demand. The uncertainty is lower because the business has already survived the hardest stage. Walker Deibel explains this concept in his book Buy Then Build: How Acquisition Entrepreneurs Outsmart the Startup Game. His argument is that entrepreneurs do not always need to create a company from nothing. Sometimes the smarter path is acquiring a company that already has customers, cash flow, and a functioning operation. This changes the traditional idea of entrepreneurship. Most people imagine entrepreneurs as inventors. They imagine someone sitting in a garage, creating something completely new. But another type of entrepreneur exists: the acquisition entrepreneur. This person searches for opportunities that already exist. They look for businesses with potential. They improve operations. They increase efficiency. They build a stronger company. They create value by making something ordinary better. And this strategy is especially powerful in boring industries. Why? Because many small business owners build their companies without thinking about future buyers. They create businesses that depend heavily on themselves. They know every customer personally. They remember every detail. They solve every problem. They built something valuable, but they never turned it into a transferable asset. This creates an opportunity. A new owner can come in and professionalize the business. They can introduce technology, improve marketing, create better systems, train employees, increase profitability. The business was already there. The opportunity was hidden inside the structure. This is how many successful investors think. They do not always search for a perfect company. They search for a good company that can become great. Because improvement creates value. A company with average operations can become extremely valuable when someone introduces better systems. This is why wealthy buyers study boring industries. A small company providing essential services may have more potential than a trendy business with thousands of competitors. The reason is simple. The foundation already exists. The customers already exist. The demand already exists. The job is not to invent demand. The job is to improve the machine. However, there is an important lesson here. Not every existing business is a good investment. A business can have customers and still be a bad purchase. A company can have revenue and still destroy money. Experienced buyers do not just ask, "Does this business make money?" They ask much deeper questions. Why does it make money? How predictable is that income? Can the business survive without the current owner? Can operations be improved? Can it grow? Because buying a business without understanding the numbers is just another form of gambling. The wealthy do not buy businesses because they are boring. They buy them because boring businesses often have something incredibly valuable: predictability. And predictability allows something most entrepreneurs desperately want: control. Control over cash flow, control over growth, control over time. But before experienced investors put millions into a business, they look at one thing more carefully than anything else: not the logo, not the building, not even the product. They look at the numbers behind the machine. Because the difference between a business that creates wealth and a business that destroys wealth is often hidden inside the financial statements. Two businesses can look exactly the same from the outside. They can have the same number of employees, the same type of customers, the same products or services. They can even have the same amount of revenue. But one business can make its owner wealthy, while the other slowly destroys their money. The difference is not always visible. It is hidden inside the numbers. This is where experienced entrepreneurs separate themselves from beginners. Beginners often fall in love with the story. They see a nice location, a recognizable brand, a large customer base, a business that looks successful. But wealthy buyers look deeper. They are not buying the appearance of a business. They are buying the economic engine behind it. Before experienced investors purchase a company, they want answers to difficult questions. How much cash does this business actually generate? Are customers coming back? How predictable is the revenue? What happens if the owner leaves? Are expenses growing faster than income? Can the business survive during difficult economic conditions? These questions may not sound exciting, but these questions create wealth. Because the purpose of buying a business is not to buy activity, it is to buy a machine that produces reliable results. One of the biggest mistakes new entrepreneurs make is focusing only on revenue. They see a company making millions of dollars and assume it must be successful. But revenue is only the beginning of the story. A company can generate $5 million in sales and still struggle financially. Why? Because revenue is not the same as profit. And profit is not always the same as cash. Imagine two companies. Company A generates $2 million in annual revenue, but after salaries, rent, equipment, advertising, and other expenses, only $100,000 remains. Company B generates $1 million in revenue, but because its business model is more efficient, it keeps $300,000. Which company is stronger? Many beginners choose Company A because the number looks bigger. Experienced buyers choose Company B because the economics are better. This is why cash flow is one of the most important measurements in business. Cash flow shows whether the company is actually producing money that can be used to grow, pay debt, reward owners, or reinvest into operations. A business can survive without looking impressive, but it cannot survive without cash. Another important factor wealthy buyers analyze is recurring revenue. Recurring revenue means customers continue paying regularly instead of making a single purchase. This creates stability. A company with thousands of one-time customers has to constantly search for new buyers. A company with contracts, subscriptions, memberships, or repeat customers has a much stronger foundation. This is why industries like commercial cleaning, maintenance, software subscriptions, storage, and service businesses attract experienced investors. The customer relationship itself becomes an asset. The business is not starting from zero every month. It already has a predictable engine. Harvard Business Review has repeatedly highlighted the importance of customer retention and strong business models in creating sustainable competitive advantages. A company that builds loyalty and repeat demand often creates more long-term value than a company focused only on rapid growth. This is one reason wealthy buyers often prefer stability over excitement. A business growing 5% every year with predictable customers can sometimes be more valuable than a business growing 100% one year and collapsing the next. Because uncertainty has a cost. The more unpredictable a business is, the harder it becomes to plan, the harder it becomes to hire, the harder it becomes to invest. Predictability gives owners something incredibly valuable: confidence. But experienced buyers do not only analyze what is happening today, they analyze what could happen tomorrow. They look for hidden risks. What happens if the biggest customer leaves? What happens if costs increase? What happens if the market changes? What happens if the current owner is no longer involved? A business that depends entirely on one person is fragile. A business with documented systems, diversified customers, and efficient operations is much stronger. This is why wealthy investors often improve ordinary businesses instead of searching for perfect ones. They look for opportunities where small changes can create large improvements. Maybe the company has poor marketing. Maybe the technology is outdated. Maybe employees are not properly trained. Maybe prices have not been adjusted. Maybe the owner has never built systems. These problems can create opportunities, because value can be created through improvement. The smartest buyers are not always searching for diamonds. Sometimes they are searching for rocks that can become diamonds after the right process. But there is another number that matters more than almost anything else, a number that explains why some people become wealthy through business ownership, while others remain trapped working inside their companies. That number is not revenue. It is not profit. It is not even cash flow. It is the relationship between the money a business produces and the time required from the owner. Because a business that creates money but consumes all of your time is not true freedom, and this is where the difference between owning a business and owning an asset becomes impossible to ignore. The richest entrepreneurs are not just looking for companies that make money. They are looking for companies that can make money without controlling their entire life. And once you understand that, you begin to see why the final strategy of wealthy business owners is not about finding the perfect industry. It is about building ownership that creates freedom. The biggest financial mistake people make is believing wealth comes from finding the perfect idea. They spend years searching for the next big opportunity, the next revolutionary technology, the next trend, the next industry that will change the world. But many wealthy entrepreneurs build their fortunes in a completely different way. They do not search for businesses that look impressive. They search for businesses that work, because the truth is simple. A business does not need to be exciting to be valuable. It needs to be useful. It needs customers. It needs strong economics. It needs a system that can survive. This is the strategy that most people overlook. The wealthy often create value by improving what already exists. They find ordinary companies. They find overlooked industries. They find businesses that have been ignored because they are not glamorous. Then they make them better. They improve operations. They reduce waste. They introduce technology. They train employees. They improve customer experience. They create systems. And suddenly, a business that looked ordinary becomes a powerful asset. This is one of the biggest differences between entrepreneurs who chase attention and entrepreneurs who build wealth. Attention is temporary. Systems are permanent. A viral product can disappear. A trend can end. A popular idea can become outdated. But a company solving a permanent problem can continue creating value for decades. This does not mean every boring business is automatically successful. A bad business model is still a bad business model. A poorly managed company can fail in any industry. The lesson is not, buy any boring business. The lesson is, learn to recognize valuable businesses that other people ignore, because opportunities are often hidden where people are not looking. Most people walk past businesses every day without realizing their potential. They see a small warehouse, a local maintenance company, a cleaning service, a repair business, a storage facility. They see something ordinary. A wealthy investor sees something different. They see customers, contracts, processes, employees, cash flow, growth opportunities. They see an asset. And this mindset shift is one of the most important changes an entrepreneur can make. Stop asking, would people be impressed if I owned this? Start asking, would this business create value for customers and produce reliable cash flow? Because those are two completely different questions. The first question is about ego. The second question is about wealth. Many people choose businesses based on how they want to be perceived. They want to tell friends, I created a technology startup. I built a luxury brand. I launched an innovative platform. There is nothing wrong with ambition, but ambition without economics can become expensive. A business exists to create value, not to create an identity. This is why wealthy entrepreneurs are often comfortable owning businesses that other people underestimate. They understand something most people never learn. The customer does not care how exciting your business sounds. The customer cares whether you solve their problem. A company that removes waste. A company that maintains equipment. A company that provides essential services. A company that saves customers time and money. These companies may never become famous, but they can become extremely valuable. The goal of entrepreneurship is not to build the most interesting company in the room. The goal is to build a company that works, a company that creates freedom, a company that gives you control over your time, a company that can grow beyond you. This is the real reason wealthy people buy boring businesses instead of startups. They are not afraid of simplicity. They understand that simplicity, when combined with strong systems, can become incredibly powerful. The world often celebrates the person who creates something new. But wealth is frequently created by the person who understands something old better than everyone else. They find inefficiencies. They improve systems. They serve customers better. They create a stronger machine. And eventually, that machine becomes an asset that produces income, an asset that can be expanded, an asset that can be sold, an asset that can create opportunities for future generations. The next time you walk past an ordinary business, ask yourself a different question. Not, why would anyone want to own this? Ask, what does someone who understands business see here that most people miss? Because the biggest opportunities are not always hidden behind innovation. Sometimes they are hidden behind familiarity. Sometimes the most powerful business ideas are the ones everyone sees, but almost nobody understands. And that may be the biggest lesson of all. The path to wealth is not always about creating something nobody has ever seen. Sometimes it is about seeing something everybody has ignored.